Hello and welcome. You're on the teleconference, Spiritual Healing for Physical Illness with Susan Rahima Schmall. Welcome, Susan. Thank you for being here today. And I want to thank all.
I'm glad I'm
there
here.
You are. Were you on mute again?
Here I am. Yep.
Okay, good. I know you're here. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I tell you what, I think Rahima's got a fabulous class for us, and it's a topic that is so very, very relevant. And I know a lot of people, there's a lot of illness in the world these days. What can we say? There just is. And I personally believe that, there's so many approaches to healing or relieving pain. And spiritual healing plays a very important role in the process, no matter what the approach is that you're taking. So I think Susan Rahima is going to be giving us some really good information on both. Just, I'm your host. I'm Mastora Grenard, and I want to take a minute to introduce Rahima and also to welcome all of you. Let me just say a really heartfelt welcome first to all of you who are on the lines and on the webcast. Really appreciate you being with us today. I know there's so many things that come across our inboxes and so many offerings in any given moment, and I really do appreciate that you have chosen to spend this time with us. I do believe that Rahima is going to really impart some of her incredible wisdom and genuine, heartfelt caring and compassion for us today. And I know I'm looking forward to it. So I'll introduce Rahima first. I just want to tell you a little word about her, and I know some of you already know her and some of you probably don't. Rahima is, first off, Rahima and I go way back, and I've known Rahima since she first came to the school many years ago, and quickly actually became a permanent fixture in the organization and then went on to become faculty. Rahima, she's a registered nurse and a Ph.D. psychologist. She's got a private practice in St. Helena where she uses the spiritual healing work incorporated in with all of her formal training and certifications. She herself has walked, if you don't mind me saying so, Rahima, a challenging path with illness, and she's going to say more about this, but I'll just give you kind of an intro to it. She's walked a challenging path, and I have been very close to her during these times, and I see the way that she walks with it, and the healing, and that she, the way that she uses the healing in her own life, along with her technical trainings, if you will, of all the alternative therapies and her medical background, and as well as her psychology background, and the way that she incorporates the healing work into what she does with herself and with her clients is just, it's incredibly beautiful, and it really brings a truly holistic approach to what she does. And when I see what I've seen of Rahima that really has touched my heart is the way that she carries a genuine compassion and a self-acceptance, and I see her in the way that she is with her own walking, as well as what she gives to others, her own clients and her students in the university. She's the head of our healing. We have, with the degree program that we offer, one of the specialties is in spiritual healing. Actually, I took that program. So it's, we have the ministry, we have the peacemaking, and we have the healing disciplines. And I I took her healing program, and it was phenomenal. And for those of you who have done healings with me, I have Rahima to thank for a lot of what I've learned, so I appreciate that. And Rahima, I know you're going to share a lot of your wisdom with us today, so I'm going to go ahead and let you get started with what you want to offer. So again, for those of you still coming on, welcome, Spiritual Healing for Physical Illness, and Rahima, take it away.
Thank you, Mastura. That was really lovely. I really appreciate what you had to say. So I'm Rahima Schmall, and I just want to start by giving you my contact information. So if you have any questions at the end or any concerns, you're welcome to email me at Rahima, RAHIMA236 @gmail.com, or to call me at 707-318-4470. So Mastura alluded to my credentials as a registered nurse and a psychologist, but truly what I know about healing has come from my own healing journey. In 1986, I think it was, I came down with what was then considered chronic fatigue syndrome and severe environmental illness. And for those of you who know me, I still ask people not to wear perfume or fragrances around me. But I came out and I was pretty much bedridden for 3 years. I was lucky enough to already have been a meditator, and I was fortunate enough to also know that my life was dedicated to the service of God. I had those two things going for me when I got sick, but the illness really thrust me on a very, very deep spiritual journey and healing journey. I started to devour anything that was written about healing. I studied with different people, and then I landed with the Sufis. And I actually want to tell a short story about that, because some of you were probably on the phone when Wadud Laird taught. So I was living in my house in Santa Fe, and I was doing a lot better than I had been. But I was sitting there saying, what is it that I want for my life from here? And I thought, yeah, nice to be a little more comfortable financially. It would be great to have great health. But I really wanted to deepen my spiritual walking. And I heard very loud and clear, you're going to meet someone, and once you do that, you're going to leave Santa Fe, which I never thought I would do. And a few weeks later, a few of my friends said, oh, you have to go to this great energy healer. And I was like, oh, I am so sick of energy healers. But they said, no, he's different. And I went to the class, I went to see him, and it was Wadud Laird. And he said to me, what I want for my life is complete service and surrender to God. And when he said that to me, it spoke to what was deep in my own heart. So 9 months later, I quit my job, sold my house, and moved out to Pope Valley to be on the land. And indeed, earlier in my life, somebody had given me a copy of the St. Francis prayer, which is make me an instrument of your peace. And I knew then and there that that's what I wanted for my life. And then, so I want to give you some principles about Sufism and healing, one of which is anything that comes to you has to do with you becoming closer to God. And I'll explain more about that. So I want to give you some principles about Sufism and healing, and then some pointers and do some exercises with you on how you can work with whatever adversity comes to your own life. But what I'd like to do is just hear from a few people about what drew you to this program tonight. I'd love to hear if there's anyone who has never done anything with the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism, and you may be too shy to raise your hand and say something, I don't know. I'm hoping that this program will address people who want to work with their own healing, who are interested in Sufism, or people who are healthcare practitioners who are wanting to know how to open their life more deeply to their clients. So I'm just hoping that a few people will just share, what brought you to this call. So you
I'll
can
just say, if
raise
you'd
your
like
hand,
to share,
however you do that. Yes.
Yeah, let me
over.
just say how to do that. Yeah, to raise your hand, press *2, and I'll go ahead and call on you, and I'll unmute your line. So, and if you're on the webcast, just type into your, there should be a box there on the screen. Just type into the box. Here we go, and I will look for that. Oh, here's one. Whoops. My screen just refreshed. Okay. Lisa, you're unmuted.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. So what brought me to the call was my own health challenges, Rahima, and I feel like I've gotten to, there's a bunch of them, and there's something about the way that they have come upon me collectively and incrementally that feels like the momentum has shifted to one where I'm on the downhill and I can't quite pull myself out of that trajectory. There's too much momentum in that direction. And so I'm very uncomfortable and in a lot of chronic pain and things like that. So I've attended some.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. I've kind of attended a couple of the healing talks from, some of the other teachers and enjoyed them greatly, but I decided that there was some serendipity to the timing of your talk and what I'm experiencing right now, and so I wanted to join and hear what you had to say. So thank you for offering this.
Okay, thank you, and I'll try and address some of what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so the question from Rahima is if you wouldn't mind sharing, I'm sorry, Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and mute you back. If you wouldn't mind sharing what drew you to this call and what you're looking for. This will help her to tailor the call. Just press *2 to raise your hand and let us know what drew you here, what you're looking for. And if you're on the webcast, oops, wrong button there. If you're on the webcast, just hit, type in and hit enter. Okay, we have another one, a cell phone from area code 301, cell phone from Hagerstown, Maryland. You're unmuted.
Yes, this is Amina Sandy. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, hi.
Oh, assalamu alaikum, Amina.
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm just, thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here, and I am having a wicked, difficult time. Today has been just awful, and I'm just having such a hard time controlling frustration and anger. So that's why I'm here. I don't expect you to fix it. I already feel better just to be with other Sufi hearts, but I'm just having a hard time. So thanks so much for having this call right at the right moment.
I'm glad it is. Yeah, frustration and anger. You're right, I can't fix it. But maybe when we do some of the remembrance and some of the exercises, it'll help.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
One more person want to share? Anybody who's brand new or...
And for those, there's still some more people kind of trickling in. And for those of you who are just coming in, the question is, what drew you here? Here we go. Have another one. Let's see. I'm unmuting you. For your name, it just has numbers. I see number 0406. Ends in
Hi, is
591.
that me?
Yes.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Rahima. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Samia.
Alaikum
and
assalam.
I'm actually not
Salima,
sure.
did you say?
It's Samia, Samia.
Oh, Samia, okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you want me to say something or tell you how I found this call? I wasn't sure of the question that I was actually answering.
I just what drew you to be on the call tonight.
I really want to connect with all of you guys more. I really feel a resonance with just the energy that you give out, all the callers, and I've listened to one or two of Brother Wadud Laird's calls, and I would really love to know more about the community and how to be more involved with you. And I'm heading to California in December, so I would just wanted to know if it would be possible to actually see you guys as well. I'm just just have ideas.
Right. I probably won't address that question on the call, but you are certainly welcome to email me or email Nestora or somebody else, and we can tell you how to hook up with the community here when you're out here.
Yeah, that sounds great. I would
love to meet you.
I would love to meet you. Thank you. I do have a question for later when you're taking questions, so I'll leave it for later.
Okay, great.
If you want. Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shania. So do you want to end it now because you do have a couple more? Okay.
How many more?
2 more.
Okay, let's do the 2 more. As long as it's 2 more, and then I'll move on.
All right. One of them is from the web, and it just says, I'm interested in hearing more about deepening into spiritual healing. So that one's quick.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And then the next one is from Sarah, area code 954.
Hi, am I off now? Can I speak
yes,
now?
Yes, you're unmuted. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Sarah. I'm here from Florida, and I just find that, it was maybe meant to be that I was going to be on this call because I'm really bad typically with the timing, but this time it was just in time. Anyway, I have a long time that I have some serious chronic health issues, and I am really interested in finding other alternatives. So I'll be very interested in any suggestions that you have, which is basically the topic you're going to be covering.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, now I'm going to move on.
Okay. Thank you all.
So I want to give some principles of Sufism, who we are as human beings, what are we here for, and then I'll talk about and do some exercises with you around the whole topic of healing. But we have to understand who we are and why we're here. Because ultimately everything is put in that context. So many of you were brought up in, either Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. There may be some of you on the call who weren't, but you're probably familiar with the whole story of creation, where God said be, and the creation came into existence. And this is important, and it's important for a number of reasons when we talk about healing and spiritual healing. One is, the story goes that God said be. So we're dealing with sound and the reverberation of sound. And a lot of Sufi healing involves sound. It's the sound of the letters of the sacred names of God. It's the sound of the prayers. And modern science is now learning that sound and vibration can both harm or heal. So we're talking about God, and not to anthropomorphize God, but it's very hard to talk about God in any other way. So the creation came about as God said be. The other thing that's important about that is that the quality of be is happening in every moment. creation is unfolding. That means that we're unfolding. We think of ourselves as solid, but we're actually not. We're being brought into creation in every single moment, over and over again. There are many deaths, and there's been a recreation. Our guide of this Sufi Tariqa, Sidi, says, let yourself be a new creation, one that God has meant you to be. And a little later on in the call, I'll talk about what we do that creates ourselves from ourselves and how we let go of that so we can be the creation that God wants us to be, that Allah wants us to be. So in every moment, we're being reborn anew. In every moment, there's the possibility of letting go of old patterns that no longer serve us, of old beliefs about the reality, the nature of reality that aren't true, and to come and be reborn into a new reality. So that's the first principle. The second one is that everything that comes to us, that the true meaning of our lives isn't about making a lot of money. It isn't about even having a great career or marriage or any of those things. It's said that God created humankind to know himself. That our hearts are a mirror, and our job is to know God. And so everything that comes to us is a vehicle for us knowing God. And the third part of that is, unlike other traditions, we know that God is inside of us. It is said that God is closer than our jugular vein. It's also said that the heavens and earth can't contain me. Only the heart of my faithful believer contains me. So we hold the light of God inside of us. And no matter what happens with our body, no matter what happens with our mind, no matter what happens with our emotions, deep inside our heart is the light of God. And our journey here on earth is to unravel all those things that cover that light, so that we can shine that light into the world. We can be custodians in the world, and that we can know the peace, love, healing, power of God. And the Sufi path is about eliminating all the coverings or all the veils over that light. The other principle with this is that we're made of what we would say clay and light. Our bodies are very solid. You know, if I whack my arm against the wall, it's going to hurt. There's no doubt about it. We're made of clay. We're like the animals in that way, and the plants. We're made from the earth. And when Allah said be, it's like he blew his spirit into that clay, and that produces life. We're solid like the rocks, but we have consciousness, and we have breath, and we have movement, and we have thought, and we have self-will. So we're created from both clay and light. We're created from the breath of Allah when He said be, and we came into existence. And we have no existence separate from that. And I know that when we're suffering or in pain or going through hardship or going through physical illness, that we can forget that the light of God is still untouched, unharmed, and inside of us, waiting to flow through all our cells, all our organs, all our thoughts, and waiting to flow out from our hearts to other people. So those are the Sufi principles in which the Sufi healing is based upon. We are here to know God. We are a new creation in every moment, and everything comes to us as a way to know God. So I want to talk about 3 principles of healing from the Sufi perspective. I was just at a continuing education class for psychologists today, and the big thing, every week I get a new brochure about mindfulness meditation. And before I was a Sufi, I was a Buddhist practitioner for 20 years, and it served me very, very well. It was actually quite wonderful. And I don't know how many of you now in just everyday life hear about mindfulness meditation. And mindfulness is wonderful. It allows us to be more aware of what we experience on the inner and on the outer. It makes us less reactive. We get a pause. If somebody says something to us, we can pause our minds and stop and go, wait a second, maybe I'm just reacting here rather than acting. But the mind is very limited. And practices that just tame the mind are very limited. So the Sufis, as Sufis, we work with the heart. We go from mindfulness to heartfulness, which is more embodied and more directly connected to the light of God. We often say that we surrender our minds to our hearts. There's a whole school of thought in terms of illness that if you just think positive thoughts, then you'll be okay. And any of you who have chronic illness here have probably been told that. Just think positive thoughts. Just picture yourself well. Have a picture in your mind that you're well and you'll be fine. Probably want to, at some point, scream at the people who say that to you. But there is that kind of philosophy that's really pervaded our new age, this new age of healing and thinking. So one of the things I want to say is that thoughts are limited. There is so much more that goes on in us that's deeper than our thoughts. If we could think our way out of things, we would do it. But the heart is more powerful than the mind. Matter of fact, there's research from the HeartMath Institute that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. So as Sufis, we know that the heart, and I'm not just talking about the physical heart, I'm talking about the whole heart center. The heart is what makes us human. The heart is the place that allows our connection to God. It's said that in the chest of the human being is a piece of meat. And if everything is okay with that piece of meat, then everything is okay with the human being. And the piece of meat is the heart. But we actually are not just talking about the physical heart. I'm sure for any of you who've been in love, it wasn't simply a thought in your mind. It was a feeling in your heart. For anyone who's been angry or frustrated, it's not simply a thought in your mind. Yes, the thoughts follow, but your heart clenches and feels tight and irritable. Our hearts are very, very important. They're very, very sensitive instruments. And our heart is also a hologram of our whole body. So in Sufism and Sufi healing, we work with the heart. We work to remove anything that's in our heart that isn't of the truth and to replace it with the love and peace and healing of Allah. So while everything comes from Allah for our walking, there's also a way that illness can be created or manifest, I should say, from the beliefs we hold about reality and how they lodge in us. That's reflected in the veils that we hold in our heart and what we refer to as pictures and voices, and how that then determines how we are in the world. So an example of pictures and voices, and then how we work with them to clear illness. So one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the call is that I still do deal with environmental illness. Not as bad as I used to be. There's been a lot of healing. But my path has really been around chemical sensitivities and environmental illness. As I've worked with myself in the Sufi path, one of the first things I began to look at were the veils that cover my heart that allow the pure light of love to come through. And I had a story, which has actually quite changed. A story from my family. I have an older sister who's 5 years older than me, so I'm the youngest. And I've lived with the belief that there's no place for me in the world. I never felt there was a place for me in the family. So there's no place for me in the world. That then outpictures as there's no safe place for me. As I went deeper with the healing, I also come from a Jewish background. And I began to see the places in my body and my heart where I was holding deep beliefs from the Jewish people of being refugees for centuries. Again, it's that theme of there's no place in the world. So it's not simply about thinking, oh, gee, there is a place for me, and to be kind of Pollyanna. We have to go in, and we have to bring the light of Allah to all the places in our heart and all the places in our body that hold these things that hold no truth, and allow the light that comes from Allah to come in and change them and transform them so that we can be born into a new creation. So those of you who were on the teleclass with Wadud Laird got introduced to a practice of remembrance where there's a repetition of a phrase, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. And what we do with that phrase is we repeat it over and over again into all the places in our hearts that we believed as truth. And as we do that into these places that we believed as truth, like my belief there's no place for me in the world, our hearts change. And the love of Allah comes in and literally takes it out of our heart and out of our body. And healing happens. When we're saying, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. You know, some people make a God out of money. If I just had money, my life would be fine. Or they make, if you look at the advertising world, you know, if you just have the right car or the right shampoo or the right toothpaste, you're going to be successful and happy and popular. There's a way our culture has made a God out of material things. And even more than material things are beliefs. I believe I don't fit in. That's my God. And I'm sticking to it. Unfortunately, it makes my life miserable and makes my body sick. But we all do that. So when we're saying La ilaha illallah, we're saying this is not a God. This isn't the truth. There is only one God, and that's the light and the love of Allah that lives in our heart. And the more we clean these misconceptions, the more we clean these beliefs that cause us pain, the more the light of Allah can shine through and heal us, you know, body, heart, mind, and soul. I want to say one more thing and then move into doing some of that with you. I want to say two more things. One is that healing is not always cure. Healing has to do with having a place of peace inside our bodies, inside our beings, no matter what is happening on the outside world. America is definitely a society where we look to the outside to create our happiness. But in truth, it's not about that. It's about our connection inside, is having a strong place inside that no matter what comes from the outside world, we know we're loved and we know we have the peace of God. And that doesn't change. So that's what healing is. Now that can have a very profound effect on the body. And I've seen that in the healing intensives that we've held on the land, where people come for 5 days and they walk out very different. But the ultimate in healing is knowing that place of peace inside no matter what is going on in your body, in your relationships, in your work, whatever. That's where true healing happens. And I wanted to say something quick, just something that Lisa shared at the beginning, because she was talking about the momentum going down and her saying, I can't pull myself up, which I really sympathize with because there have been times where I've had the momentum go down. In the Sufi healing, we often say the self can't heal the self. And what that means is we're on a path of surrender. Healing comes from surrendering our own idea that we can do it ourselves, to handing over our will and our lives over to God, and allowing the flow of God's life to move us. So there is a way we can't do it ourselves. It's not about just thinking positive thoughts. We can't make ourselves change. We may need some discipline to do practices like La ilaha illallah, to say prayers of gratitude each day, but the change comes through Allah's grace. We can't make grace happen, but we can set up conditions that it's more likely that grace will come through. So that's the first point. And what I'd like us to do is just practice La ilaha illallah for a few minutes. I'll guide you into it and guide us into finding a place in our heart that may be tight or holding pain or holding illness, and see what happens as we repeat a phrase like that into that place. And then I'm going to open it to questions before I go on to the other 2 points. So if you hear me walking around in the background, I'm going to pick up my prayer beads. I just found them. So take a moment to settle in. Let yourself ground by feeling your feet on the ground, your back against your chair, so in Sufi meditative practices, we're not going up and out. We're going down and into our heart. So take a minute to just settle your body. I know for those of you that might be having pain or illness, it's a little uncomfortable. But let yourself shift your awareness into your heart center. You can even put a hand on your chest to feel where that is, and shift your awareness underneath the hand. Now your mind's going to do what minds do, which is they think. So just notice that, and then bring your attention back into your heart, like you're breathing in and out of your heart center. Breath is coming in and the breath is flowing out. And I'm going to start by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most merciful and compassionate, because we start everything with that, remembering our gratitude. So just feel the state of your heart as we go into this. There's no right and no wrong and no correct response and no incorrect response. So just feeling your heart center, noticing if it's tight, noticing where it's open, noticing if you're feeling pain. Just notice whatever's there. tapping into the compassion and mercy of Allah. And we're just going to do for a very brief time, La ilaha illallah. And as you do it, let it vibrate into your heart. Let it vibrate and allow the light of Allah to just begin to allow your heart to relax. La ilaha illallah. 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 So take a breath. Your mind is active. Feel your feet on the ground and bring your attention back into your heart. And then let yourself move from the front of your chest toward your backbone, like you're falling into a pool of warm water. You're falling into the wings of the angels that are around you. And say a prayer in whatever way is right for you, asking for God's light, asking for God's help. And again, we're going to do another round. La ilaha illallah. 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 Good. So I'm going to open it up at this point to any questions or anyone who would like to share anything of their experience so far, or doing the La ilaha illallah, the remembrance. So let's open it and anybody to share.
Yeah, press star 2 if you have a question. I'm going to start with, I believe it's Samia. Your hand has been up.
Yeah.
So do you have, you have a question?
I did. my main question for today is, so I've experienced emotional overwhelm. Like throughout my life, I've felt emotion so strongly, so intensely that I've found it pretty much impossible to just get on with my regular life, hold down a job. Therefore, I work for myself. And so that's been one. And also my second question, I don't know if you can answer it. It's just intuition. I find that I'm quite in tune because I'm very sensitive, like probably a lot of people on the call, but I'm a little bit like there's certain things that make me very nervous and I just can't answer it, if I'm meant to do this or not. So in terms of life partner, choosing, like deciding if someone is right, and that's causing a lot of different emotions.
Well, what I would say is the same thing to both of them. The interesting thing about the heart, in general terms, in popular culture, we think of the heart as simply an organ of emotions. But in truth, the heart actually has several layers, actually 4 layers. The emotional part of the heart is just one layer of the heart. So the Sufi answer to being in emotional overwhelm, or even to, I would have incredible business selecting a life partner. I think most people do. They're absolutely certain. But is that we're learning to go past the emotional layer of the heart to a deeper place where we stabilize. That's actually going to be part of the third point that I have about the Sufi healing and the Sufi walking being the same. That what we're doing when we do these practices is we're building inside of our beings a tree of light. We're building a place inside that doesn't get blown back and forth by the winds of change, the winds of emotion, the winds of what's going on the outside. So, some of what could be useful to you is to spend some time, either at the farm. The farm of peace would probably be better. You're living in the East Coast.
I'm not East Coast. I'm in. Pardon me?
Oh.
What was that?
I thought you were. Sorry.
No, I'm in Australia, actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, because you said you were coming. For some reason, I thought you were on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But to spend some time in retreat where you get guidance and you begin to learn how to go past the emotional layer of the heart to a stronger place inside, which is deeply connected to God. Emotions, I tend to be very emotional. I'm very sensitive, and like you said, most people on this call probably are. And they can be good information, but I don't want to be whipped around by them. And so learning to go deeper into the heart, it's a little like, when you look at the ocean and you see the waves, and sometimes the waves are kind of cool and calm, and other times they're like, during a storm, they're really wild. But either time, if you go deeper into the ocean, the bottom is very still and very peaceful no matter what's happening on the outside. So I would say for you to find a way to do the walking, possibly do some retreat. The school is a really good way of getting more solid in terms of that. Finding someone to work with to help guide you, but to do the practices that will begin to build a really, it's interesting because it's a solid core, but it's not rigid. so that the core is moved by God rather than all the outside influences that are bombarding us 24/7 from other people, from life circumstances, from our own ridiculous thought processes, that we have a stable inside. And that way we begin to learn how to listen for deep guidance. Is this my life partner? Is this where I move? Is this what I eat? Rather than just being thrown around by our thoughts and our feelings and our body sensations.
Yeah.
Does that make some sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I guess my challenge with that is I feel like I've been doing just that. Like I've been retreating from the world, spending time in contemplation, and I feel that maybe I'm just not going deep enough. Maybe I just need to do more of it.
Well, I don't think that doing it always just on your own works. I think to really move through doing it somewhere where you're getting held and getting guidance and doing particular practices, the practices really begin to move us. So it's not simply being alone. It's a whole formula. And letting yourself, be held by people who have walked through it.
Okay. So would you recommend, maybe I need to talk to you separately, and I don't want to hold the call up, but maybe you could recommend which program or the master's program, etc.
Absolutely, I'd be more than happy to. And I think I gave there'll be contact information again at the end of the call, but I'd be more than happy to talk with you further.
Thanks so much.
You don't sound like you're from Australia.
I used to live in Canada when I was young, so.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions or reports about just a little bit of Leila that we did?
I'm going to go to Martha from Massachusetts. You're now unmuted, Martha.
Okay, Martha.
Hello, bless you all.
Hi.
Hi. Well, I'm drinking everything in, and I'm so glad I didn't hear my alarm go off to remind me of the class, and I managed to get in. So I was supposed to be here. Thank you.
Good.
I received a lot already just listening and chanting. Very quickly, I am recovering from a heart crisis, physical heart crisis.
Yeah.
I just got out of a hospital on Wednesday of last week.
Wow.
From an AFib condition, I now have a normal heartbeat again. Thank God. And I have nothing but good things to say about the doctors and angels, human and otherwise, who cared for me. I was hospitalized a year and a half ago for the same thing. And so what led up to this, and I worked with Ibrahim also a couple of years ago, was a childhood trauma and terror that and hurt that started when I was very small. And a really hard life. I'm 63, very hard emotional life, a lot of abuse, a lot of, and of course me being the ultra-sensitive, like the last caller, healer person in my family, sensitive and creative and all of this. So I went along the last decade, running around trying to help fix, save, rescue, heal everyone in my family. And it finally just, I collapsed under the pressure. And so what I realized
I imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, I had never learned how to love my own self and love taking care of my heart. So what developed was really a collapse of my system, my energy, my life, and so I'm celebrating that I had a positive outcome last week. The day after I got home from the hospital, my low back went out and I could hardly walk, just screaming pain in the lumbar area. And I've struggled along this week. I'm getting better. But what I feel is a chronic pain pattern and a chronic fatigue and chronic illness, and like one thing gets fixed and then something else happens. And so I'm deeply frustrated today, and I've been very depressed about it, and I'm in fear and lack about money because I haven't been working. And so I want to somehow, I want to release this, and I don't know how, and it's really gotten in my way. So that's what I want to say. Thank you. I want to be well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I wish I could say there are healing miracles. People say a prayer and all of a sudden their health is completely good. My experience is that it's a process. And the timing of that process is not necessarily up to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's continuing to release the things that aren't right in our lives. To let go of things and allow new creation to come in. The other thing is there's a hadith, which is a saying from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, that for the believer, oh gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. For the non-believer, hardship is hell, but for the believer, hardship is heaven. Now, we're not necessarily talking about them, they're non-believers, and us believers kind of thing. But when I know that, when I really, truly know, not just a thought, that Allah is truly holding me and walking me, when I have that certainty in my heart, what I'm going through on the outside is simply opportunity. Now, do I hold that all the time? No. There are times that I feel like crap and I don't. So I'm not saying I'm perfect with this. But I do know the difference. And that's
like the last
really
caller.
what moves our life. Yeah.
Like the last caller, who either you or she used the word instability or stability. I remembered that word because I have always felt unstable emotionally because I'm so knocked about by everything. I feel I used to joke and say I feel like a human pinball in the game of life. The slightest even subtle thing or thought or idea or thing that someone said that hurts me or makes me feel a certain, I'm so susceptible to these things. And so you said the tree of light, and that's what and of course, I'm new to this Sufi path. I was invited by my acupuncturist who's become a dear friend, and I sort of have a little toe in, but I can feel how good that felt, to feel like I had a tree of life in my heart, in my center, that nothing can really sway, or maybe not too much,
Mhm. Well, it takes, walking to really develop that tree into a strong tree. An oak tree takes longer to grow than a weed. It's called walking on the Sufi path because it does take a while. So I would just, encourage you to continue doing that. If you can take some time at retreat, again, I think that I'm a real retreat fanatic. In Massachusetts, there might be somebody up there you can do it with, or going down to the Farm of Peace, and really continuing to develop the place that isn't so thrown off. But it does. It takes time, unfortunately, or fortunately.
And what about the bit about, feeling like it feels like I just never can heal. I feel like people are frustrated with me, even healers that I've gone to. I feel like I just always have something going on that is troubling me physically and emotionally. It's just I just want to come to the end of it.
So some of the time, so some of the time what we have to do, at any one time, there's a lot of stuff going on for any of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to use our awareness as to where we put our attention. So, for example, right now I'm sitting in my bedroom. I could put my attention on the computer screen. I was sitting all day at a workshop. I can put my attention to the pain in the back of my neck that's throbbing because I was sitting all day. I can put my attention on the fact that it's cold in here and my feet are cold. I could put my attention on my heart, and I could go deeper into my heart and feel the peace of God. Part of healing is learning where do we put our awareness and where do we put our attention and where do we keep it. Do we keep it on the list of all the things that aren't right, or do we keep going, I know that you're there, my Lord. I'm going to bring my attention back to you. I'm going to bring my attention back to you. And the more we do it, the more easier, even if your grammar is incorrect, the more easier it becomes.
Okay, and I agree with that, and that is a very good reminder for me. I find it most difficult to do that when I'm sick, when I feel sick. When I'm feeling good,
Yep.
It's a lot easier.
Absolutely, when you're feeling good, It's a lot easier. And sometimes when we're feeling good, it's like, I'm going to even forget about that because I'm going to go out and play, So, yes, I'm glad it was a good reminder. Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? I'll take one more, if there is one. If not, I'm going to move on because I'm aware of the time as I look at my computer. Okay. If there isn't anyone, so the first principle. Hi, there is someone?
Oh, shoot, yes. Rahima, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay.
Yes, you have quite a few. You have quite a few hands up still. But I said when you said one more, I called on Wichita, Kansas cell phone. Sorry.
Okay, yes. Wichita, Kansas.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, Rahima. This is Salima.
Oh, hi, Salima.
Hi. I just thought I'd share. As you know, I've had a lot of issues with pain too. And something that helped me is the more I pushed away the pain, the more it just stayed there. And when I decided to accept that it's there and that, through the school's help to see it as a mercy and rather than a punishment or some sort of, more like a punishment, then I was able to allow it to come in and listen to what it was trying to tell me and how much it was connected to some of the beliefs false beliefs I held. So I thought I'd just share that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I know you've really worked hard over the last couple of years and really moved a lot with your healing.
Yes,
so it's nice to hear that.
All of you guys. Yes, alhamdulillah. So I thought I'd share that. It's like it's very easy to push it away because I don't know what we, interpret it to mean, but once I started accepting it, that it's there slowly, layer by layer, the pain has decreased. I mean, there's still some, but it's just, I just feel like it's a matter of time. When it's time for it to come up with whatever false belief I'm holding, then it will come. So
thank you for that. Thank you for that sharing, Salima. I didn't even think of that, and that's really a good reminder. I appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to make a couple of other points, and then there'll be time again for some questions. So
let me
the
just
other
say,
principle,
write your questions down. For those of you who still had questions, write them down so that you'll still have them when we get back to them.
So I feel like I mentioned these other two, but I'm going to go into them because I also want us to do one more exercise of La ilaha illallah. I'm aware of time. In Sufism, we talk about what's called die before you die. And that goes back to eliminating the false beliefs and pictures that we hold from childhood or from generations that cause us to not know our true inner light. So some of you who've been in my classes have heard me give this example before. It's like, even if you didn't have a horrific childhood, let's say you're a baby and you're crying and your mother has 2 other children and doesn't get to you on time and you're hungry. Some kind of belief, if you don't know a lot, some kind of belief begins to happen, like maybe there's no one there for me in the world, or no one loves me. And then it happens again. And so that belief gets reinforced. And then it's almost like wearing colored glasses, and we see it everywhere. And each time we see it, it builds a layer over our heart, a veil over our heart. And those veils are the seeds of discontent and illness. So like Salima said, rather than pushing the pain away, it's looking at what's being held there and letting it die. I studied with a man named Arnold Lindell who does process psychology for many years, and his thing in terms of working with illness, he talked about that we have to erase our personal history. And that and die before you die goes back to what I said before. Allah is saying the word be in every moment. We're a new creation in every moment. And what holds us to our past pain is our belief that we're solid. We can be a new creation in any moment. I talked about my own pictures of there's no place for me in the world, and I worked on it for a really long time. And now, actually, when I look back at my family, I see the history of love that was there rather than just the history of wounding. It's been erased. It's like I don't have that story anymore with my family. So Allah, in a certain way, has given me a new creation. My heart is more open. It's more full. It's more full of love. There's more healing there for myself and for others. And then I'm going to say one more thing, and we're going to do a little exercise about letting go of pictures and voices or personal history related to illness. The last thing, and I think I said it, maybe it was to Samia, I'm not sure. But it's that Ph.D., our guide, has said the walking is the healing and the healing is the walking. In Sufism, we talk about walking, that we're moving slowly and steadily closer to God. We're moving slowly and steadily by removing the obstacles, because God's already in our heart, so it's not like we're really going anywhere, but we're removing all the obstacles that cover over our heart. And it's a process. And the more we walk, the more we heal. And when we heal, an old belief, an old view of the world, the more we become closer to Allah so that we can see what the truth is. And those are the principles of healing. We build an inner being of light. On the Sufi path, there are times that as you're doing the practices and prayers, people report, and I know I experienced this, my chest would hurt because of the expansion of the light pushing up against the clay. But it's pushing out the old beliefs. It's pushing out my old personal history, the stories that I told myself about the world. This is the way the world is. This is how I feel. This is what I think. This is what I believe. And all those thoughts and feelings were making me miserable. But I held on to them because they were mine. And so the walking and the healing is letting go of those. And as we do, it changes our biology. It changes how our biology, it literally changes the messages that are sent to every cell in the body. If I'm giving a message to every cell in my body, I don't belong, I don't belong, I don't belong, I don't belong, there's no place for you, there's no place for you, there's no place for you, my body is going to tense and my cells are going to react. If I'm allowing them to relax in the light of Allah, they're going to open and they're going to drink and they're going to get true nourishment. We're going from contraction to expansion. And the truth is our whole walking is contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. It's not that we're never going to be ill. It's not that we're never going to have hardship. But when we have the certainty of Allah in our hearts, what's happening on the outer has less an effect on us than what's happening on the inner. Sufis say we're in the world but not of the world. So we negotiate the world, but we're facing God, and that light carries us through everything. So I want to invite you to go back into your heart, to ground again. And again, we're only doing this very briefly on this call, to do a thorough job. In actuality, I will be doing a 6-week follow-up teleclass. I think it's starting in January, where people can really work on their physical illness. And people who are health professionals can learn more about how to work with people who have illness. So I want to invite you all to that. But we only have a few minutes for tonight, so you can maybe get a taste. And we'll go more in depth in that, and certainly at some of the other programs with the school. So feel your heart. Start by grounding, bringing your attention down into your body. Taking a breath and feeling your heart. And draw up one belief or one memory. Don't pick the worst and baddest. We're on a phone call and we only have a few minutes. That stops your life. I'm never going to get well, or I can't stand that pain, or I don't believe anyone loves me. Let yourself for a moment be with the pain. Notice if there's something you're looking at, like an old memory of when somebody yelled at you, or what you're believing. Notice what happens in your chest, in your heart, when you're looking at that memory, when you're believing that belief. When I go there, I feel like there's this walnut right below my vocal cords. I get tense and tight. So feel whatever the tension and tightness is, and we're going to breathe the La ilaha illallah into that. And we're going to send the wings of your heart around it with love and mercy and compassion. So just allowing the love to go around whatever the tension or hardship is. And let's do some La ilaha illallahs. La ilaha illallah. 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 So just notice what that makes it feel. Just notice the difference you might be feeling. Good. So we only have a few minutes. Mastura, do we have time to open it for questions and then talk to them about next steps, or should we just move into next steps?
Tell you what, why don't we go ahead and give the information on the next steps, and then we can, you know, if you feel you want to take a question or two, we can do that, and that way for people who can't stay past the
That's a great idea. Thank you.
They can go. Okay.
So I want to talk about how to continue with some of what we've talked about today. So obviously you signed up for this class through the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism website. We have a year-one class that's starting next week and then again in spring. But as ways to continue walking with or without that, we have on the website a downloadable month-long remembrance that you can, and help me out with this, Mastura, that you can download and listen to, and it'll help you through a month of remembrance practice. Do you want to say something more about it?
Yeah, let me just say it's a 7-day e-course. It's not a
month.
Oh,
sorry,
however,
a 7-day e-course. You can listen to it 4 times.
Yeah, right, but it comes with something that is eternal. It does come with a downloadable audio recording of Dr. Laird Wadood guiding you through the remembrance. And there's also that you can use to eternity. And there's also a weekly call that I do to help you with remembrance, to any questions you have about it. We just get on the phone and do it together, and that's on Tuesdays during the day at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, which makes it 10, I believe, Pacific. So you'll get the information about that as well. And, okay, so I think that clears up that one. And you want to go on to the next one, Rahima?
Yeah, the next one is I'll be doing a teleclass, actually it'll be a webinar starting at the end of January for 6 weeks, which is going to go more deeply into some of the material that I presented today, and it'll give you a chance to work more individually and deeply on whatever the issues are that brought you to the call tonight. Other programs that we have in the store? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me say about that one that we don't have the website up for it yet, but you can email me if you're interested in it, and I'll make sure you get the information as soon as possible. Or I tell you what, even better yet, let me go ahead and give you Donna Jamila and Robert Shea are two amazing people who are available to take your calls. There it is. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you their information. Donna Jamila, if you like to talk to a female or someone on the West Coast, she is on the West Coast in Seattle. However, she has an Austin phone number still. So her phone number is 512-775-7126. It's 512-775-7126. It's Donna Jamila. And her email address is Donna Jamila CF. I'll spell that. Donna, D-O-N-N-A. Jamila is J-A-M as in Mary, I-L-A. C as in cat, F as in Frank. Donna Jamila CF. All one word, no hyphens or anything, at gmail.com. Then if you prefer to speak with a male or someone on the East Coast, we have Robert Shea, and his phone number is 717-552-1925. It's 717-552-1925. You can reach him by email at enrollment@sufiuniversity.org, enrollment@sufiuniversity.org. And I tell you what, if you have a question, I do encourage you to write it down. You could go ahead, if you're near your computer or on your computer listening to this, open up an email right now and plug in those email addresses. And Rahima, you gave your information as well.
Well, why don't I give it again? It's Rahima, R-A-H-I-M-A 236 at gmail.com.
Excellent. Yeah, so go ahead and open up an email, compose an email, however it works on your system, whatever the wording is, and go ahead and plug in one of those email addresses and write your question. And that way, if we don't have time to get to your question, I don't know how much longer you're able to stay on, Rahima, because we are right at
about 10 minutes. I'll stay on for
the
questions.
Call. Okay, so we'll go another 10 minutes. Go ahead and write in your question. And if we don't get to it on this call, you can go ahead and email it. And we do, the last thing we want to do is leave you hanging on this. We definitely want to get to you. And with the email address, with those email addresses, anything goes on questions. You're welcome to ask anything about healing, about any of the programs we have, whatever's in your heart. We're here to help you. Okay, and with that said, ready to open for questions?
Yep.
Okay, Lisa, and calling in from California. I'm going to go back to you. You're unmuted. And anyone else, press *2.
Thank you, Mr. So, Rahima, my question is that, there's just so much going on in terms of just endless veils and pictures and beliefs that sabotage my ability to heal and also be, more connected to God. And so I'm kind of mucking around all that and not wanting to, and thinking that I'm tired and my heart feels tired, and I feel like Allah is the truth and that all of those are the lies, and that the lies will dissolve in the light of the truth. And so maybe there's, I admit to wanting a shortcut, but also it just feels like a better route to kind of just surrender to Allah and ask Allah to take them without even having to spend a lot of time identifying them and how they have shown up and where they came from, and all that other stuff just seems like such an arduous indulgence in the lie, and I would like to clear it out by just asking God to take it from me, and I'm wondering if you would comment on that.
That is a really fabulous question. There's kind of a middle way. Most of us, if we're in pain or sick or any of that thing, we just want to kind of push it away or throw it away. Here, God, take it. And it's a way of just sort of wanting to get away from it. At the same time, if we had to walk through absolutely every single veil that is in our way, we would never get anywhere. So there are times that we have to, it's not about mucking around or falling into the pain or re-traumatizing yourself. It's touching lightly what's going on. For example, when I first got ill with the chronic fatigue, I think it was Ibrahim said to me something like, "Oh, you have all this rage in your spine. Just hear the rage, hear the screaming and clear it." And I wasn't quite aware that I was that angry. But if I thought about it, here I am, this great spiritual person, and I didn't want to be angry at people, so I stuffed it, which is partly what caused, damage to my own body. So it was just letting myself hear and touch those places that were enraged. And it's not digging for the pictures, it's just allowing them to come forward and releasing them. There are certain things that it's important for us to see because they're a learning and they're a way of knowing ourselves. And then there are certain things that Allah just takes. And we may never know, and we don't need to. So it's kind of a middle way. If you're tired, then just simply do remembrance, but allow it to go deep inside. Or lay in bed and do tauba. Don't worry about pictures and voices and anything. When you feel a little better, you can sit and you can, okay, what's going on with me? What is this thing that's so heavy on my heart? What is going on with this pain? Don't push.
Okay.
There's a line. It's like a certain discipline, but also an incredible amount of mercy.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yeah?
Yeah, I'll go to Hector in Massachusetts. Hector, you're unmuted.
Hi, Hector.
Let's see. Hector, you with us? Hector in Massachusetts. It's area code 617. Okay. If you're speaking, we're not hearing you. Could your phone be on mute? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put your hand down. If I just muted you back and put your hand down. If you get to where you want to ask again, go ahead and raise your hand. I'm going to go to Sarah in Florida. Sarah, you're unmuted. Sarah, you with us?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Wonderful.
Maybe it's me.
I'm sorry that, maybe my communication skills are not that great on the phone, but I'm going to try. I did some meditation with a healer some years ago from the Sufi tradition, and I found it wonderful. And I guess I'm not too proud. Yes, I'm not too proud to say, and this is the part that you might not like too much, that I have a problem with the denominational portion of it. Okay?
With what? I'm sorry. You have a problem with?
With something more being so denominational, like into a
denominational.
Right.
Okay.
So my question to you is, I think there's something very valuable there that might be maybe common to more than one tradition that I would like to tap into, because I see that definitely has a power of healing. At least for me it did. But I just would like something more, I don't know what the word would be, generic, without having to, is there any path you can suggest? I'm here in South Florida. I don't know if there's anyone or any suggestions or websites that you suggest. Sorry that I used the same word many times. Yeah.
So there are a couple of things with that. This is a really good question. So there are a couple of things with that. One is you don't have to be on the Sufi path to move toward God. I've worked with people from all sorts of traditions who have kept their tradition. It generally serves one to pick a path. It's a little like the difference between climbing a mountain directly or going and starting one path to the next to the next. I mean, there's something about being eclectic, but at the same time, if you're only taking little appetizers from a lot of different traditions, then you're never eating a full meal.
Right.
So the Sufi, this practice of remembrance or the healing work can be adapted to any tradition. So you can use it and still follow whatever tradition you're part of. I've worked with Buddhists. I've worked a lot with Christians. Where I live is the center of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, is where it started here in Northern California. I've worked with people who are Seventh-day Adventists. There's no problem. But I would suggest to you that you go deep with any one tradition.
No, what I find,
or else you just kind of circle the mountain rather than climb it.
What I find is you're being specific and you're giving it direction and steps. Like I think many traditions might have the same. It's just how to find that path within the other tradition, unless someone is telling you this is the way to go. You understand?
It's true. It's hard to find that. I mean, I grew up in a Jewish household, and I was part of a Tibetan Buddhist community for many years, and then, CD and this ship sort of appeared at my door, and I said yes because it was like I could wait for something else, or I could say yes. It is very hard to find the inner mystical tradition where most people are practicing the outer religion. It's a very difficult thing to find and a very rare thing to find.
Yes.
They're not advertising themselves on street corners. If they are, watch out. So it's a matter of, I'm not sure how you find the genuine mystical tradition within different religions, because mainly I've stuck with Sufism. That's all I can teach. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying it's not there. I believe it is there. I just don't know the resources that you're asking for.
Okay. Well, thank you for trying to, I mean, you were very clear on what you said. I was just hoping that maybe if you come across with that information, I have your email, so maybe I'll send you an email. Maybe you have some suggestions.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. I really
I've
appreciate
heard that people, I've heard that people have studied, Jewish mystical healing. I know there's Christian mysticism, but I don't know who and what is being taught. But yeah, you definitely email me. That'd be fine.
Okay. It's Rahina, R-A-H-I-N-A or M-A?
M like in Mary.
Okay. 236.
M like in Mary. A.
Okay.
236@gmail.com.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much.
You're so welcome. Okay, one more question before we end for today.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Everybody, let me see. Hold on one second. They have a comment on the, where did it go? I had a comment on the webcast.
Okay.
It was from one of the previous, it came in after one of the previous questions, and I didn't read it at the time because I wasn't sure if there's a question here or if it's just a comment. But it says
either one's good.
Yeah, okay. The last question was great, and it was referring to a couple of questions ago. I find that when I am close to God, all seems well, actually amazing. In this world, it seems hard to be in this place as often as we would like.
I want to say, yep, that's exactly true. That's why in Sufism the practice is called remembrance, because we tend as human beings to forget. And so the more we practice, and I think this is the truth of any mystical path, they have practices. The more we practice, the more it becomes easier to shift and to remember. It's like what happens is the veils of our heart begin to get thinner and thinner, and then we're actually seeing and experiencing the world from a deeper place. But then we forget, and we do the remembrance, and then we remember. And that's just the truth of our beings. So that's my response to that. So I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. And I hope to meet some of you and hear from some of you and perhaps see some of you at the school or be part of the class that I'll be doing in January. But I really appreciate you showing up and spending the time with me tonight. So thank you very much. Take good care, and salam alaikum, peace be with you.
Yes, thank you all very much. I'll just give those email addresses one more time. And let me give you a website also, sufiuniversity.org/info, I-N-F-O, as in short for information. So it's Sufi, S-U-F as in Frank, I, university.org/info. That has links to the 7-day e-course that Rahima mentioned, as well as a link to sign up for the consultation. You can also email Robert Shea at enrollment@sufiuniversity.org or Donna Jamila at Donna Jamila, C as in cat, F as in Frank, at gmail.com. So please send your questions if there's anything that that you either you didn't feel comfortable asking on this call, or if it comes up later, or if you're listening to the recording. Please reach out to us. We're here for you, and we don't, by any means, we don't want to leave you hanging on anything that may come up for you. So I want to thank you for being here and being a part of this teleseries. And Rahima, I want to thank you as well for your time and this beautiful teaching that you've given this evening.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. It's been great.
It has. It's been wonderful. Quite a gift that you've given this evening. I greatly appreciate it.